fat plug on the socket we the socket we on my test. I say plug in my test. I was 0.35 ohm. The reading have to be 100 and above. It have to read from 100 and above. If it's read below 100, it means you're reading. It means your wiring, there's a problem in it, or your wiring is not correct. It must read from 100 and above. So let me electric to CEWP, or where there is light, there is hope. In this video, we'll be looking at some of the few testing and inspection on both domestic, commercial, and industrial facilities. These are some of the basic things we'll be looking at. Continuity of protective conductors. We'll also be looking at continuity of ring final circuit conductors and the insulation resistance test. We'll also be looking at earth fault loop impedance. And then the last but not the least, we'll be looking at protective fault current. So for not wasting much time, let's dive into it. First of all, let's start with the continuity of protective conductor. There are two methods of testing protective of continuity conductor. Continuity of protective conductor, there are two methods. One method is R1 plus R2 test method, and the second method is water lead method, which is popularly known as R2 method. All the two methods here are very important. The easiest one is the water lead method, but the R1 plus R2 test method too is also very important because it can also give you polarity test at the same time giving you the accuracy. We are going to use our multimeter to do this. So those of you who have Mega but I don't know how to use it, this video is going to help you in so many ways. So let's dive into it. We are starting with R1 plus R2 test method. So let's go. Now let's start with the testing. The first method is R1 plus R2 method of testing by using the Mega or the test resistance tester. So let's go. Before we start, as you can see, this is our Mega. This is our Mega. These are our apprentice, positive and negative. So let's start. Before you start, there are some few instructions you need to follow before you can start with this. First of all, you need to know the props. So the instruction here says that set your tester to ohms, bring the tips of the props together and press test 2. Now the lead. So let's start. And this English itself is man. Those of you who know how to read it, feel free to read. So let's continue. So how to bring the blocks together. As I bring them together, I put the Mega on ohms. Once the Mega is on ohms, then I'll press test. Once the Mega is on ohms, then I'll press test. see it have given me 0.0 ohms. So now we are going to start with the real testing here. And before we start with this test, you have to disconnect one of the earth and then one of the live conductor and join them together temporarily. Before we do the test too, you have to make sure that your main consumer unit is locked or is off. You have to make sure that your consumer unit is locked or is off. As you can see there is a padlock here. You have to make sure that you have put off all your appliances and the consumer unit before you can start with this test. So let's continue. This test is R1 plus R2 method of testing. So we will start by disconnecting the earth terminal. We'll start by disconnecting this earth terminal. And then we'll disconnect one of these live terminals. So please pay attention and let's continue. So let's listen to the instruction. The instruction here states that connect the line and the earth cable together by tapping the terminals to disconnect them. So this one, the R1 plus R2 test of method, you have to disconnect the earth temporary and disconnect the live temporary. Join them together before we can do the test here. So let me disconnect them so that you can see. I'll disconnect the earth and I'll disconnect the live too. So you can see I'll disconnect the earth and the live. So now let's progress. So right now, before you start with your earth resistance tester, you have to make sure that you know the link so that your tester will be on 0.0 ohms. If not, the reading will not be accuracy. So let's take the instruction. It said position your LED on the earth terminal and the line terminal. Press test and operate each switch in to confirm the whole circuit has been tested. Now before we do the test, first of all you have to know your lead, your props. You have to knit them together so that you can get 0.0 mega before 0.0 ohms before we start. So let me knit them together. Knit them together, then I'll press on test. Knit them together and then press on test. Let's forget about this one and continue. So I have to put So now let's start with the testing. You have to put one of the props on the earth terminal and then you put the other one on the live terminal. the other one on the live terminal. You have to put one on the live terminal, the earth terminal, and then this is our switch. This is our first switch, and this is our second switch. It's our second switch. It's our first switch, our second switch. So now let's continue. Before you do the test, you have to press on test. That have to give you 0.12 ohms. After that, then you have to press on the switch. This switch, you have to press on it once. So let me press on the switch and see. You can see. When I press on the switch, I've seen that the switch has switched on. So let's go and test again. You have to give me, the reading have to be 100 and above. It have to read from 100 and above. If it's read below 100, it means you're reading. It means your wiring, there's a problem in it, or your wiring is not correct. It must read from 100 and above. So let me test and see. You can see it have given me 1000 ohms, and I test have given me 1000 ohms. 1000 ohms, so which means my wiring is correct. After this, you have to press on the second switch too. You have to press on the second switch, this switch. You have to also click on it to run the test again. If I click on it, I've clicked on it. If I test again, I have to get 0.12 ohms. 0.12 ohms. Then the last test we are going to do before we complete this test is that you have to go back and put on the first switch. This switch that I've turned on. I have to press on it again to complete the testing. So let me click on it. And see, when I click on it, I've seen that the switch has changed its direction. If I press on the test, you have to give me 100 and above. If it is below 100, it means there is problem in the wiring. If it is 100 and above, it means your wiring is complete. So let me test and see. See, when I press on the test, it has given me 100 ohms, 1000 ohms, which means my wiring is correct. So if you are using R1 plus R2 method of testing for continuity of protective conductor, you also be doing polarity tests at the same time. So now I think we are done with this test. So let's move on to other ones. We are done with this test. Let's move on to other ones. We are done with this test, so let's move on to another one. So the continuity of protective conductor. The continuity of protective conductor, there are two methods. We are done with the first method, which is R1 plus R2 method. Now we are going to do the Wadderly method. Now we are coming to the Wadderly method. But with this Wadderly method, it's properly known as R2 method. It's the one of the easiest ones. So let's complete it and continue with the other ones. So let's complete the Wadderly method. This is the Wadderly method of testing. With this testing, it's very easy and simple. First thing you have to do is you have to listen to the instruction. Set your tester to ohms. Bring the tips of the pros together and press test. Now delete. So let's continue. So with this one, use your mega, you have to make sure that you have set your mega to ohms. As you can see, the mega is off, so I have to switch on the mega to ohms. So let me turn the mega to ohms and let's continue. I have to press on the mega. As you can see, the mega is on ohms now. As you can see, the mega is on ohms now. So let's continue. With the medley method of testing, I have to speak Chi so that my people can also understand. Test way, one of the easiest way I ever share how to test protective conductor of test continuity of protective conductor. And R2 method of testing ever be yen. See my mind share the way answer now we share test nothing. I was still call it in the boom now. Unya 0.0 ohms and sana washa say yes sir. Wire nenya correct. Into someone say your props my combo. Semi me tester. Semi me testing so I was say about 0.0 ohms. Semi me as that was about 0.00 ohms. It means mega must setting no. So someone setting mega answer now we shall see reading no yan correct or so setting mega answer na shall see. It's an answer just. Answer the bet just no. Mraka ka on ho say this one answer na bet just. Answer na we test we soon or so we shall say wire no consumer unit no. Or shall say consumer unit no. What do say who consumer unit any pilot I had like here. We do make sure say obian so. Do consumer unit make sure say obian so. I feel the moment just. Answer na bet just now say disconnecting your earth cable. Your earth cable we or say you're disconnecting. Answer na your just until moment I'm disconnecting in it. Someone will say my disconnecting earth cable. I'm not a crowd honey, more for no more kind kaka. I say then put one of the pros on the exposed earth cable, the other pros on the earth terminal within the lighting pedestal, and press test to show a reading. More on tibra for no more kind of phone kaka, but for me I got some about them. At the moment just answer now bet just we are orderly method of testing and testing na ya we testing in the continuity of protective conductor. Testing the continuity of protective conductor. And to my just my disconnecting me earth cable no. My disconnecting me earth cable no. I saw you cross we back to earth cable no so. Now do back so to life in the testing nation. To my testing nation. Answer now over your test we so also make sure say approximate at the ohms. To my just to me the back to so I know the back so also 18. I'm testing. Once I'm 0.12 ohms, which means me 18 are very effective. 0.12 ohms, and see I'm say me 18 are correct. I want do. See we test the way they medley method of testing. Modality method of testing. I know they are very simple. And then the testing and yet we use is yeah. They are only testing in yet. nti moma yɛnte ase. Afei deɛ yɛrekɔ ansa na yɛbɛkɔ continuity of final ring circuit no. Mode moma yɛnkɔ continuity of final ring circuit ansa na yɛate ase. Nti yɛwie continuity of protective conductor. Yɛwie continuity of protective conductor. Afei deɛ yɛreba continuity of final ring circuit. Nti moma yɛnte ase. So gyinadi na me test wei dɛ na woyɛ. So wohu me test H no so H no sɛ 0.12 ohms. Nti biribiara yɛ correct. Sisi no moma yɛnte ase. Aha na ɛho hia paa no. Mo a mowɔ mega no, saa adeɛ wei. Obi a watɔ mega papa biara, bɛhu sɛ omega no saa adeɛ wei wɔ ho. Nanso bebree na yɛnnim deɛ yɛde yɛ. Ɛnnɛ meba bɛkyerɛ adeɛ a yɛde saa adeɛ wei yɛ. Nti yɛnte ase. Nti mo a mote brɛfo kakra no, na moakan kakra. Ase wo connect ma wo plug na ɛne neutral na wasɛte tester no at bia 2 ohms. Na wamia test sɛnɛ bia bɛma wo womia test bɛma wo 0.0 ohms. Nti mama yɛnte ase na yɛhwɛ. Sisi ano sɛ mohwɛ mega no mohu sɛ mega no ɛda off. Mega no da off. Nti ɔwɔ sɛ mede 2 ohms. Nti mama yɛhwɛ. Someone say mede mega na 2 ohms. Nti mama yɛnte ase. Mede mega na 2 ohms na ewie no na mamia test. Wode mega na 2 ohms ya na wode wia. Wohu sɛ mede akye no. Sɛ ɔmo sɛ mede akye plug no. Afei deɛ moma memia test na yɛnhwɛ. Womia test a ama wo 0.0 ohms. Which means wire no yɛ correct. Nti moma yɛnte ase. In this video, we are going to look at insulation resistance test. Before we perform insulation resistance test, there are some of the appliances that you have to remove them from the facilities or the rooms before we start with the main wiring. So first of all, you have to remove your bulb. You have to remove your smoke detector. As you can see, smoke detector. That's the smoke detector. And then you have to remove your smoke detector and disconnect your TV as well. After that, before we start with this test, you have to set your tester or your mega to 500 ohms. Once I have set testers now, so I'll do omega at 500 ohms. 500 volts, sorry, 500 volts. Moment, just instruction. Instruction is set your tester to 500 volts, and then before you start the test, what should you do? Nti tester no mega no yɛde bɛto 500 wohu sɛ ɛda off so na mede ato 500 volt nti mohu sɛ ɛda 500 volt no afei dɛ yɛntea so nti ɛda 500 volt no awurafo no ni sɛ den to check the tester is working. Press test without the probes touching. You should get 1000 ohms. Then put the probes together and press test again. You should get 0 ohms. Before bebree nyinaa ne kakra ne sɛ ansa na wobɛhyɛ test na ase no omega no ɔsɛ omia test. Omega no so omia test na would omega no to 500 ohms. Now omia test. Omia test na ɔsɛ ma 1000 ohms. Nti omia test na nhye. So omia test ama me 1000 ohms. Mede mega no to 500 ohms. Na ma mia test. So omia test a baba me 1000. So me test na baba me 1000. Mama 1000 ohms ɛwɔ screen way so ɛwɔ ha se. Mama try na nhye. So ma mia so. Mama 1000 ohms. 0 near for 1000 ohms. 1000 ohms. Afia wa test ya ma 1000 ohms. Once I settle omega no. Na so settings no. I say omega no so no be share I say omega no ma 0.00 ohms. Ti see ade obeye ni say omega ni props no we. Omega no ni props no we. When I say o can anu we. Ene anu we o can boom. I say o can boom say na be ya. O test ya obanya say na be ya o mia test na obanya 0.0 ohms. Say o can we na no anyway na no boom a na o mia tester. I say ma 0.00 ohms. And I say o tester na accept ya o de be ejum nti entia so. Ti car props na boom. Ti makabo si ewie no me ba me mia test. Nti me mia test na mo share screen no so. O share screen no so I was say am me 100 ohms. One any 0 means nti entia so ma mia test. Say am me 0 ohms. Am me 0 ohms and I say wire near correct. Test we resistance test. Nti e ba we just. We test we no. Answer na e be yan. Instruction e paper we. Paper we na e di be test. So we paper no so first one no I see we air to neutral. Nti air to neutral no. Me neutral no so we o props no we no. We ba ko be kwa ha. Na we ba kwa ba see. We are second one no I see air to circuit 1. Air to CCT ni air to circuit 1. Nti circuit 1 no circuit no ba ko ni yenu ni yensane akusuni. Nti sesian no o ma nti profo kakra yentiaso. I see using your checklist. Checklist na no ani. Any book we no. Using your checklist, test between every circuit conductor to ensure there is no breakdown in insulation and no short circuit. CCT on the checklist indicates the circuit to be tested. Tibrafunu ni kakra ni say I see CCT na ama indicate wa ha no. CCT ni kyerɛ sɛ circuit to be test. CCT no ase kyerɛ ne sɛ circuit to be test. Circuit na yɛbɛ test no ano na ɔyɛ ne CCT no. Nti moma yɛnhyɛ test na ase. So asa na yɛbɛhyɛ test na ase no. Asa na yɛbɛhyɛ test na ase no. Test no yɛyɛ a saa dot na ɔmo ho. Saa dot no ɛbɛ mark correct na kyerɛ sɛ yɛkɔ anim nti mo ma yɛnhwɛ. Nti sɛ mo hwɛ na mo hwɛ sɛ dot no mark a na sɛ ɛte kia na kyerɛ sɛ test na yɛ na yɛ correct. Nti mo ma yɛntie so. First instruction is say test between every circuit conductor to ensure there is no breakdown in the circuit. Nti sisi ano first test a yɛbɛyɛ sisi ayɛ earth to neutral. Nti me plot no baako no mede baako ato neutral no. Mede baako ato neutral no. Neutral bar no so. And the second one no so ato earth bar no so. Now let's move on. So let's start with the testing. Now we are going to test from earth to neutral. So as you can see, our approach is on neutral and earth. If you test, you have to take from here. So let's start. And just to me a tester. Once I take it. When you test, once I mark it, I take in a green. And it just test way correct. Until you test. Second one, I see the earth to neutral. Earth to neutral. Until neutral in here. Earth to neutral. I see earth to circuit with circuit 1. Until earth in here. Earth in here. Circuit 1 no has baby. Circuit 1 the baby. We are testing this. Once circuit 1, earth to circuit 1, once I mark it correct. For this third one here, earth to circuit 2. It is circuit 2 no. Someone say I mark it correct. Fourth one here, earth to circuit 3. Circuit 3 ni ever has it. Now I'm testing it. So we make sure say we test all the time at the 500 volts. And I say we test we machine the duma. So we are setting about 0 ohms. So na machine say yes, I will read the name correct. And the end just. It's the me baby check it for 8 to circuit 3. In the circuit 3 no mind me answer. So mami want so me answer on say me answer on say I take you. Fourth one there I take it correct too. And so me answer share reading so. I say amount above 100 and me answer me answer asia. Me answer yeah, I say me answer me answer nti ya mo hwe screen ni so. Me share screen ni so. Me answer on say mami 1000. Amount below 100 I just say wiring short circuit amount above 100 I means wiring BBI okay. Nti amami above 100 in the gen say circuit ni okay. Nti en tiaso. Ebi I do not see earth neutral to circuit 1. This is here no. The plus no. Sisi ano yɛwie et no. Sisi ano yɛwie et no. Yɛwie et no nti instruction no sisi a third one ase deɛ neutral to circuit 1. Nti neutral bar no ni. Nti saa wei no. Sisa color no mo kakra. Yellow. Nti saa circuit wei. Nti saa circuit wei no. Saa props wei ɔsɛ meyi fi ha. Na mfa mbra neutral no hɔ no. So. Nti meyi. Mebɛto me neutral no so. Mede ato me neutral no so wie no. After the circuit no sɛ deɛ neutral to circuit 1 nti circuit 1 no ɛne ni. Nti instruction no say neutral to circuit 1. Neutral to circuit 1 nti me props no mede ato circuit 1 no so. Memia sɛ mede to circuit 1 no so na sɛ memia tester. Ya monhwɛ screen no so ɛwɔ sɛ ɛba from 100 and above. Sɛ ɛba below 100 wɔ ha kyerɛ sɛ wiring no nyɛ correct. Ɛwɔ sɛ ɛba above 100. Nti ɛyɛ a monhwɛ screen no so. Nti meba bɛmia test no ahwɛ. Nti me test a mo sɛ me test a yɛ 1000 ohms. It means wiring no yɛ correct. Ɛyɛ above 100. It means wiring no yɛ correct. Nti mo sɛ ateke. Sisi ano meba neutral to circuit 2. Ɛm sɛ circuit no baako bi wɔ ha ma manhu ne ntɛm. Nti neutral to circuit 2. Nti circuit 2 no. Circuit 2 no no ani ni. Sɛ sisi ano yɛwie. Sisi ano sɛ mo sɛ ne nyinaa teke green. It means yɛwie saa yɛ test wei. Afei yɛwie yɛ resistance test no. Nti after yɛba et fault impedance. Yɛba test for et fault impedance. Nti mo ma yɛnte aso. Obɛbisa sɛ et fault impedance ano deɛ test no sɛ wode to box na hwɛ video no bɛte aseɛ. Nti sɛ yɛba check for et fault impedance na mo ba nhwɛ instructions ate aso. Nti sɛ yɛba check for et fault impedance. See, before you start, set your tester to the loop setting. You have a test et fault impedance. And I see that's an share or test. I say omega no odiba loop setting. I know what I see. Test with me, Mr. Mumbi Brina any bida. Now, so be any green one. And see, someone say Megano. Someone say Megano at that off. So I say me chim the back green one also. To me miaso back me. Yes, sir. Someone say Megano. See, someone say Megano at that. Et for looking as a green one also. And to my interest. And so now obey a test piano. And so now obey a test piano. Also make sure so. We may break off. See and just. Asa yɛbɛtoa so no, ɔma yɛnhwɛ instruction. Test a yɛba bɛyɛ no ne didi 8 foot impedance. 8 foot impedance. Also now say tap the incoming 8 cable to disconnect it from the main terminal. Before we simple. I see 8 way. Mean if it terminal name. Until me by disconnect it 8 into motion. Someone also my disconnect it 8 and just. Before for visa about say there with one port on the disconnected terminal. Disconnected 8. Test line 1, line 2, line 3 on the incoming side of the main switch. Taking a reading each time. One can from the Bible. From the Quackani say, Montimin camera, woman can Yana, my hands, Miss Maximasiana. But we in the Quackani say, with one port on the disconnected edge. Test line 1, line 2, and line 3 on the incoming side of the main switch. We are taking a reading each time. Who you now take a reading in system? Jama bela kakra. Nti you know, nti people we checklist never use ni. Add to life, add to neutral, add to line 2, add to line 3, add to line 1. We people we never use. I don't know about that. Paper we never use. I did test. Paper we never use. The test. It is a wish paper no so L1 line 8 to line 1. So if you say 8 to line 1, 8 to line 2, 8 to line 3. So my interest. To me the person back over to 8 na my disconnect so. Let me the back so at income and in line 1 someone say I have said no, I'm going to use the right color code. And see a blue, brown, green and ash. No my interest. So you person back to 8 line 1 20 way line 1. Line 1 it also make me a test. Also I remember when if say omega no 8 force impedance omega no so would be to LP 8 foot impedance so would to green one also. Many mega we use obi any mega na so mo hwe symbol no LP. See some me be test na ya mo hwe screen no so. Mo hwe mega na screen no so mo go say reading ni paper. So me test ni pe reading ni paper screen no so. So mo share no so ma me interest. Okay, me test the first one. Let me test the first one. I'm at 0 ohms. 8 to line 1 0 ohms, which means 8 foot in impedance behind the circuit. Me deba. So me test it. I am on share screen. I'm on share screen. After that, me deba line 2. If I have tested line 2 no so. Me deba line 2. So me tested line 2 no. Okay. First one here, blue one here neutral. Anything I'm taking. First one here neutral. Anything. Second one here line one. Anything I'm taking. Once line one, nothing. Line one I take it. So after line one I'm marking. First, second one here line one. Second one here line one. See line two here. Third one. So moment if I plus into third one. To me line two. Asa na me miano aya mo share screen nini. Aya mo share screen nini. Mo go reading ni wa. Line 2 0.12 to 0.25 ohms. It means at 40 lupidant be any circuit way. The moment we found line 3. Line 3 ni. It test there, mommy 0.25 ohms. And see, someone will say checklist number completing. Test ni na correct. It's 40 be any system way. So we know 40 be any. Sawa we know 40 be any. 40 be any. Moment just. Maybe test no cry, you know. But for any say then, before you move on, remove the plus IT to the terminal. Moment just. Once we hear, once we hear, once we hear wiring. We hear wiring. X cable now disconnecting, also we're connecting it back. After the year, just run. The entire soon got for free. As you are seeing, before you start, set your tester to loop setting. A tester, once a tester, I was 0, so I send me the loop setting. Someone will send me the test another loop test. A test I am share screen issue. Maybe a test I am share screen issue. The test now I see there. This time plug the tester LED into each socket and press test each time to take a reading. I see plug in. Me plug gas socket in the man, take a reading. And say, one share with me. So, my fat plug on with the socket with me. Me socket with me, I test. I say, plug now me test, I was 0.35 ohms, which means 8-volt lupidance behind the circuit with me. I'm going to say circuit with 40 behind. So once I plug them, I share with 40 behind. Until the bar will move so now I share. Mama if he said 8-volt lupidance now you check it. See. Me the bar share with me so I check it and so by my 0.35 ohms no behind. See me too. Me the have share see. Me baby me test no and I am share screen no so. I'm share say all the time no. I 8-volt lupidance na check into. We make a no say that 8-volt lupidance, which is LP and just say I know some 0.38 ohms. Say amount 0.BB as just say 40 BNM system. So, mama yen chasu ko. socket we nche. Me plug we here, I dey about how much. First one is 0.35, second one here 0.38 until you share service over my here. Socket no. But you say, answer number take you in socket in your associate one another. Socket in your associate. So you take it in there. Third one, mommy 0.4 ohms, which means 8/4 looping as behind me. So I am on share screen. I am on share screen. 0.4 ohms until we 4th being. Mommy plug no if I call last one. We have a test here. I am on share screen. So we may test until I am on share screen. Until we test here. And some of me 0.35 ohms. Someone will say, you check it for 8/4 looping dance for final ring circuit. It's not circuit net to say. So, mom, when you test baby, then moon shot says, I'm going to test baby. And just so. I can't test, I can't last one. I ever be. The last one I ever be. Your test and you ever two answer. And so the moment you fancy and then just so that for free. More yes, I test will be done. Moon shot says, I'm going to see. I am on subscribe so send a I am on the video be free. I am on subscribe.
Welcome to ElectroTunes CEWP, where electricity meets animation. Join me on a journey of learning and fun as I explore the world of electricals through cartoon animation. From circuit breakdowns to electrical safety tips, I'll be covering it all in a way that's both informative and entertaining. Whether you're an electrical enthusiast, a curious learner, or just a fan of animation, this channel is for you. So, subscribe now and let's get charged up about electricity. All video created by MVTWAEKCEWP.
Welcome to ElectroTunes CEWP, where electricity meets animation. Join me on a journey of learning and fun as I explore the world of electricals through cartoon animation. From circuit breakdowns to electrical safety tips, I'll be covering it all in a way that's both informative and entertaining. Whether you're an electrical enthusiast, a curious learner, or just a fan of animation, this channel is for you. So, subscribe now and let's get charged up about electricity.
Final test. This test is called. We are looking at protective fault current. I come to use our mega to check protective fault current. If you look at this side, I see that the mega is on off. You have to turn the mega from here to protective fault current. So the PFC is protective fault current. So let's listen to the instruction before we continue. Before you start, set your tester to the PFC settings. 1, 2, 3. As you can see, The omega is on PFC settings. The omega is on PFC setting. Now this is the test we are going to do. Protective fault circuit, protective fault current, protective fault current. We are coming to check for neutral to line 1, neutral to line 2, neutral to line 3. That is protective fault current. So let's start. With one plot on the neutral terminal, test line 1, line 2, line 3 on the income side of the main switch, taking a reading each time. So but just so I found the doors more if I'm bright Jim Kaka. And some breath on the person. We got two neutral so. We got two neutral to line 1. Line 1 here. I am on share screen so. Maybe I'm testing a bit display on screen so. Maybe I'm test on 1.50 k 1.50 k. So I check it. So I say we in here. So we in here and I bet take it correct. In here I bet take it. See I call line 2. Line 2 no I see. I am on share screen so I will read your screen so I am on share checklist so I better take a checklist so let me test line 2 1 point. I am on share screen so I'm going to read it and call last one. I'm on share screen so now I'm share checklist so once I better take it. Once the first one I take, second one I take. I'm on share screen so I'm going to read it. Line 3 to neutral. On share screen so 1.50 k. Okay, I take you into your testing. Until more years our test will be done. I am one Siana Monsumonyebi. Before we start with this test, protective fault current, protective fault. So we put your front on neutral to line 1, then you test. And you put it on. Neutral to line 2. And the last one. So we are continuing head to line 3. Now we are done with this test. Again, neutral to neutral. After the year back, Yɛba neutral to line. Afei yɛ sɛ mohwɛ yɛ links no so yɛ to line 1, to line 2, to line 3. So the port no back over to X terminal no so. And back on to line 1. And test 1.30k. So I take over as it. Call line 2. Line 2. Fault way protective fault current. See fault be anything and take a correct. See I call say last one line 3. Line 3. Test. Once I be okay, see. So I take it correct. So more money the IS test where I'm science and be so mo betimi aye bi.